Are you existing or are you living? For me, this experience, it really is an experience about self-discovery. It's allowing me to realize that I can embrace and love what God has given me and be happy with it and still feel beautiful.
Hi YouTube, and welcome back to the channel. Today is actually a very special day because we are going to be doing the very first DIY here on this channel. We are going to make African black soap shampoo. Now, I have made this, I started making this about 3-ish months ago. I want to say back in like March or April. I started making the shampoo for a couple of different reasons. Number one being that I have a dry scalp, and with that being said, I get flakes and my hair gets pretty itchy very fast. And so I've dealt with that for a long time, and for the past, I don't know, maybe year or so, I had tried other shampoos that were meant to help alleviate dry scalp, and they worked and they helped to improve a little bit, but I still didn't feel like I had something that was working enough for me. So I did some research to try and learn a little bit more about like what are some other remedies that you could do, and I heard a lot about African black soap. And I have some of it at home, but I never thought to use it as a shampoo. And so doing my research, I found that you can actually make some at home with just a couple ingredients. So that's what we're going to be doing today. So if you have dry scalp, trying to work on alleviating that, or if you just want to save some money and cut the cost down of shampoo and by making your own, please stay tuned for that. Alright y'all, so here are all of our ingredients and things that we're going to need for today. Of course, the very first thing that we're going to need is African black soap. As you can tell, I've been doing this for a while because I'm like halfway through my bar. But you're going to want to make sure that you have actual African black soap and not like just a black bar of soap. African black soap is more of a brownish tone with kind of black flakes in it. So you're going to want to make sure that you purchase the real deal when you're doing this. Next up, you're going to want to get a vegetable/potato peeler. You could just use a knife for this, but I like to use this because it's a lot faster and it gets the black soap into smaller pieces. Then you're going to want to get something to boil your water in. I'm using my teapot, but you can just use a regular pot or just like a bowl of Tupperware and put that in the microwave. Next up, I have my mason jar to put the mixture inside of while I'm putting it all together. I like using this one because it has little lines on the side to measure with, but you could just use a bowl or Tupperware for this. So next up are our essential oils. You don't have to have all of these. I just looked on Google to find some essential oils that were good for the scalp, and this is what I had at the house. So peppermint is good to help promote thick hair growth and has a cooling effect on the scalp. Lavender encourages healthy hair growth and helps to reduce dandruff. Cedarwood helps to stimulate the scalp for hair growth. Lemongrass is good at treating dandruff. Coconut oil helps to stimulate hair growth and moisturize the scalp. This one of coconut oil that I have is actually fractionated, which means that it is liquid at room temperature. And then lastly, I have rosemary oil, but at my house, we have a huge rosemary bush in our front yard. So I went out and cut off some of the little branches, and that's what I'm going to be using instead. Then you're going to want to get a funnel. This is pretty self-explanatory. It's just going to help us get our shampoo mixture into our container of choice that we want to use it in. And then lastly, you're just going to want to get a container that you plan on storing your mixture in. So as a means to cut down on waste, I like to use bottles and things of stuff that we have at home. So this green bottle here was actually lime juice that I rinsed out. And then this bottle here on the left is a soap container, which I really like because it has a pump, and these both yield about the same amount. Alright, so first things first, you're going to want to heat up your stove and get your water starting to boil. Meanwhile, you're going to want to get a plate and your peeler or knife and your black soap, and go ahead and start shaving down your black soap. So what we're doing here is basically we're going to make the black soap into smaller pieces so that we can put our hot water over top of it to melt it down into a liquid. So depending on how much shampoo you're actually trying to make, you're going to want to shave off more or less black soap. But for me, it takes about maybe a handful or a palmful of shavings to get the desired amount for about 12 ounces, or about how much fills up these bottles, as you can see here on the plate. But while I put it in this mason jar, you'll see it just kind of covers up the bottom layer of the jar completely, and that's the perfect amount for how much we're going to be doing today. So while that's all happening, your water should be about done by the time you finish up. So I just go ahead and pour my water directly onto the soap in the mason jar. And what I like about this jar, again, like I've said before, is that it has the lines on the side to help measure. So I filled it up to a little bit above that second line, which is about 12 ounces and some change. And then I take the rosemary now and I put it in while the soap is melting so that it can kind of simmer and be in like a little black soap steamy hot tub situation. So then after about 15 minutes, or just enough time for the soap to completely melt and for the mixture to completely cool down, I go ahead and take out the rosemary from the mixture, and I go ahead and grab my empty bottle that we're going to use to put the final product in. And right now is when I go ahead and put in all of the essential oils. So I start with 2 pumps of my coconut oil, and then about 10 drops of all the other oils. The essential oils are basically just kind of like the seasoning to this whole mixture. So you can use whatever you want with this, really, more or less of whatever oil you prefer. I kind of go a little lighter on the cedarwood just because personally I don't really like that smell as much, but I know that it's good for the scalp. Then once you have all of your oils in, you're just going to want to grab your funnel and your mixture and go ahead and start filling up your container that you're going to be using your shampoo out of. As you can see here, I was a little bit short, so I probably could have made a little bit more, but I normally fill 2 bottles up at once. So I was a little under my measurements because I wasn't used to just filling up 1 bottle, but it was filled up for the most part, and now I have a completely new bottle of soap. I gave this one to my sister because I of course have 2, but with this bottle it's going to start off a little bit lighter in color until it separates. I'd suggest using it maybe the day after. The particles are going to kind of simmer to the bottom and the oil is going to separate on top, but all you have to do is just shake it before you use it. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Here are all of my containers. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial and let me know how it worked for you. Bye, see you next time.